Yep.
Does this work while you're on, Donna, tonight? Seems good.
Tonight it's work.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Rob. I am well. I have no time constraint. Missing for us, who's next to you there, Mike?
Rachel.
Rachel Gould? Oh, she said she would be late. I think that's it. I have no elephants, expectations to come to some agreements.
I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm doing fine. No time constraints. Missing, it looks like everyone on the TALC side is here except for maybe Mario and Lewis. No elephants, and I will go with Rob's expectation to come to some agreements.
Good evening, I'm Heather Leonard. I'm doing well this evening. I don't have any time constraints, no elephants, and expectations. I'd like to come to some agreements as well.
Hi, Kelly Letcher. I'm doing well. No time constraints. The missing is noted. No elephants, and I would agree that we would like to come to some agreements.
Kimberly Hutchins, I'm good. No time constraints. Missing noted, no elephants, and come to some agreements.
Hello, I'm Christine Schroed. I'm doing fine. No time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, expectations, come to some agreement.
Hi, I'm Jessica Duncan. I am doing well. I do have a time constraint this evening at 6:15. I have to leave. Missing is noted, no elephants. Also like to come to some agreements.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben. I am doing great. I have no time constraints. The missing is noted. I don't have any elephants, and the expectations is come to some agreements.
I'm Shannon Johnston, doing great. No time constraints tonight. Missing's been noted, no elephants, and expectation is to come to some agreements.
Good afternoon, I'm Bonnie, I'm doing well. No time constraints for the duration of our meeting. Missing's noted, no elephants, and expectation come to some agreements.
I'm Mike Haywood, I'm doing good. I have no time constraints, missing's noted, no elephants, expectations come to some agreements.
Hi, I'm Suzette Rivera. I'm doing well. I do have a time constraint of 5:30, but it's possible that I could return. I have another meeting to attend. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to come to some agreements.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kurt Pizzone. I'm fine. I have no time constraints. Missing's noted, I believe. Scratch Lewis off then. I have no elephants, and my expectation is to come to some agreements as well. That's fine.
My name is Kevin. How I am is special. Time constraints noted, missing noted, elements not expectation. Come to at least one agreement.
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano.
Who's going to that?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll just talk loud.
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano, and I am a PCT at Varsity Lakes Middle, and I'm the Vice President of TALC. I'm doing quite well. I have no time constraints, the missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation is come to at least one agreement.
Hi, I'm Anna Witten. I'm a third grade teacher at Colonial Elementary, as well as the TALC secretary. I am exhausted, ready for spring break. I have no time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and let's come to at least one agreement. I turned it off, it's still not working. Good luck.
Good evening, my name is Samantha Howard. I am okay. I have no time constraints on PCT at Hearns Marsh Middle School. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and I would also like to agree on at least one thing.
Testing. Good afternoon. My name is Shay Pearson. I am a testing coordinator at Island Coast High School. I am the TALC treasurer, and I'm also an ESOL instructor for adult ed. I am doing well. I have no time constraints. However, I do have a spirit night running at Chick-fil-A on Pine Island. If anyone wants to stop by afterwards and mention Island Coast, I would greatly appreciate it. Missing has been noted, and my expectation is to make at least one agreement.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I am a 6th grade language arts teacher at Mariner Middle School. I'm doing well, but I'll agree with everyone down the table who said they are tired. I am so ready for spring break also. I have no time constraints, missings noted. I have no elephants, and my expectation is to come to some agreements.
Good evening, my name is LaShonda Hutchins-Cologne, and I'm well. I'm the math coach at Franklin Park Elementary. I have no time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to come to at least one.
Hi, good evening. My name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a school social worker currently assigned at Lehigh Senior High School. I am doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to come to at least one agreement.
Good evening, I'm Christina Jarrett, and I'm doing well. I am a kindergarten through 5th grade art teacher at Tortuga Preserve Elementary. No time constraints, missings noted, no elephants, and the expectation is to come to at least one agreement.
Good evening, my name is Bob Scapitola, and I teach mathematics at Three Oaks Middle School. Speaking of that, happy Pi Day for everybody. And I'm doing fine, no time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectations would be to come to at least one agreement, please.
Hi, I'm Tara Sherman. I'm the school counselor at Raymond C. Page Elementary. I'm doing great. No time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants. Expectation is to come to some agreements.
Good afternoon, I'm Louis Fisher, the Director of Bands at Gateway High School. Beat down, had to do a parade this weekend, plus a concert on Sunday. Have no time constraints, I'm no longer missing. I do not have any elephants, and my expectation is to get back on track to where we should be at this point in the game.
And while Amy's doing that, good evening. I'm back.
I'm Carl Burnside, principal at Dunbar High School. I'm fine. No time constraints. Who's missing? Assume has been noted. No elephants. Expectations are that that we come to at least one agreement. I can go along with that.
Okay. Amy?
I'm Amy French, doing well. No time constraints, this is noted, no elephants, and the expectations are to help you meet all of these expectations.
And hello, I'm Donna Mutzenard, I'm doing well, no time constraints, no offense, and my expectations is the same as Amy's. So let us just get rid of these papers. Thank you. All right, there are 2 items on the agenda this evening, and I've had a request from Rod. So Rod, do you want to?
It's not a huge deal. I mean, we wanted to try to talk about compensation first and then take on the bonus issue second, but if there's a huge objection to that, we're fine with proceeding the other way.
After polling our side, I think there's a strong desire to start with the retention piece, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, then let's start with the retention piece. I don't know if we have any more story for that. If you do have more story, please don't repeat what's already been said so that we can move forward. Anybody have additional story for this, or did we do any options for this?
I think there were. I don't.
What was the date we tested? And I know Will sent out minutes.
Yeah, February 7th minutes we have.
February 7th, but they were sent out this afternoon.
And the 28th will be out in the next day or two.
And the 28th in a day or two. So do you want to wait till Friday to approve both of those? Since we're all back here Friday afternoon? Because I'm sure a lot of you haven't had a chance to read what Will sent out this afternoon. Is that all right with everybody? Wait till Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We shall do that. All right. Did you find anything? They're looking. Do you have anything else? Rob, do you have anything?
Well, we do. I mean, we have an option.
Up there. I know we wait till you get
Yeah, I don't think this was one of them. Based on the $4,000 and the urgency expressed by TALC, we would put $2,500 payable by the 15th of July, and then $1,500 in December of 2022 to equal the $4,000.
So that's 2,500, 15th of July, and 1,500 by December 22.
Correct, and obviously both of these are contingent on being employed on a certain date. Certainly the 1,500 in December would be.
Okay, thank you. And Kevin, I saw your hand.
Did we discuss what the other options were?
No, they're looking for the options
I'll refrain until.
so we can post them.
Thank you. Where are they?
Well, we had an option one last time, the 3,000 paid ASAP employee number 1, the 1,000 paid at the end of the year still employed. And then the district had option 2, 2,000 paid ASAP, 1,000 at the end of semester 1 next year, and 1,000 at the end of next year.
So that's, what's the date of that, so 2 options came up?
It was just at the very end of our last time.
Very end of last time.
So then this would be 3.
Okay, that helps when we're looking, because all the charts are by date. So the date helps. Thank you. So there were only 2 options?
Yes.
Okay, and now 3. Okay. Said it was at the very end, Marcia, so. There they are. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, we've got it. Okay.
Okay?
Okay, option 1 starts there and goes over to this page, I guess, and then there's option 2.
Option 1 is up to $4,000 with $3,000 paid ASAP. The last $4,000 at the end of the school year. And that was the first 2 weeks, first 2 9 weeks, $3,000 ASAP. And $1,000 at the end of the year if they're still employed. Starting during the second 9 weeks, get $2,000 ASAP and $1,000 at the end of the year if still employed. And they're hired in second semester, they receive $1,000 ASAP and $1,000 at the end of the year if still employed. Option 2 was $2,000 bonus ASAP, $1,000 at the end of semester 1 next year, and $1,000 at the end of next year. Option 3, $2,500 payable by July 15th, 2022. Then $1,500 by December 2022, contingent on being employed on a certain date. Those are the 3 options.
Do we have any other options? Kevin, do you have something to say? Any options over here? All right, you said you needed to see the option first, so go.
Yeah, thanks, because I thought I remembered it. My complicated one was up there. Did you guys negotiate a retention bonus with Spout?
Yes.
Okay, and have they been paid?
That's kind of a loaded question. People that didn't receive the $1,000 earlier in the year received $1,000 on December 15th. So people did get a bonus already this year. The plan right now is another $1,000 at the end of March and $1,000 in July.
Okay.
So yes, we negotiated a new $2,000 bonus with Spell.
That's what I.
And the second one is contingent on attendance.
Okay, so I appreciate the latest option, but for me, it moves us backwards. Part of our idea on giving money now was to talk about what people did in the first semester. And I know every time this comes up, I still get emails. Kurt got an email today from somebody about busing at an elementary school. I'm not sure why the new idea is July 15th. But for me, it moves backwards. And if we're going to look at something like that, then we're going to have to talk about what we're doing for people in the first semester.
Yeah, and the July 15th date is negotiable.
Okay, so does that give you another idea for an option?
I'm having a problem understanding, do you not have the $4,000 ahead? Is that what the problem is? Are you waiting on
Well, ESSER 3 has not been approved by the state, so.
But there are things in the ESSER plan that you budgeted for that you have not spent, correct?
Kevin, I can't answer that. I'm not a budget person.
Okay.
So.
Well,
there's a lot more than money for this type of thing in there. So.
But you budgeted, remember the discussion real early on was the 8-hour day. We were going to do an 8-hour day this year. Thankfully, that did not come to fruition. In your ESSER plan, you have money budgeted for that. So if we didn't do it this year, what happens to that money if it's not spent?
So we have to go back to the state with an amendment in order to change the way that we're proposing to spend those dollars. So we cannot provide a bonus for funds that are not approved in the plan as of yet. So we would have to go back to the state to amend dollars if it was decided that that's how we wanted to use the dollars.
So are there monies in the plan that you told the state you were going to spend on bonuses?
There is money in the plan that we proposed to the state that we would be using for additional pay for employees, for bonus, incentives and things like that, bonus incentives and class coverage.
Okay, so is that where the 2,000, the newest 2,000 per spout came from? From that kind of line item?
Yes.
Okay, so is it safe to assume that the same amount of money is set aside for us there?
Yes.
Okay, how long does the amendment process take?
I don't do the amendment process, that's through the grants department, so I can't answer that because things I think should take a lot less time end up taking a long time. So I can't make that date for someone else.
Gotcha, all right. So, as of now, the only ESSER money that is committed to bonuses without the plan having to be amended is $2,000.
For right now, yes,
Okay.
out of the current ESSER
Out of the
dollars that
current
we've
ESSER
got
dollars.
approved by the state.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or clarifications needed about ESSER funding and bonuses? Shay?
So my question is, if there was money put aside for classroom coverage, and we had talked about classroom coverage, originally when we started talking about classroom coverage, we started talking about this back in August. What amount was set aside for that for first semester?
So we set aside about 8.2, or $8 million, I'm sorry, right around $8 million. But I believe this last payroll for class coverage, it was 1.9 million for the class coverage only. That did not cover the semester. So we're going through it pretty quick.
Okay, so you said about 8 million was set aside and we spent 1.9 million to date?
1.9, and only part of the payments were made because the semester coverage was not paid at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Clarification? Another option, Anna, and then Bob.
So I'm just curious because you guys have mentioned the word bonus. When you talk about these amounts, are then the employees responsible for the high tax amount that comes out of that? I know the bonuses are taxed higher. Or is this like a flat rate payment? Or is it a supplement? Or can you just clarify that? Is it like, we're talking $1,000, I'm just gonna use an easy number, $1,000, but then the employees are still responsible for all of those taxes? Or are we budgeting a little bit higher without the taxes, so that's a true payment?
Well,
I think there were a couple parts to your question, so I'll answer the part that I know how to answer, because I know that we went through some of this stuff with the longevity supplement last year. I think that it would be a bonus, not a supplement, because in order to be a supplement, there's a couple different tests that you have to apply in terms of, it being for work performed, whether it's recurring or not, when you receive it, that kind of stuff. So I think it would apply as a bonus. As far as the tax rate goes, I think you're right, the withholdings are greater on bonuses as opposed to supplements. I think there was more to your question though that I'm not able to answer, so I don't know if someone else on our team can respond to that.
hey, Kelly?
It was budgeted at 2,000, not, so the employee would have the tax that they would have to pay on it themselves.
All right, thank you. Bob was next.
Yeah, just for clarification, you said that there was $8 million that was budgeted for first semester coverage. How much was budgeted for second semester coverage?
It was 8 million for the full year.
I thought you mentioned something about first semester. Well, how much was budgeted for the first semester?
It was 8 million for the full year. We've already gone through 1.9 just paying
Right, so the
this
8
last
million is for
one.
the entire year.
Correct.
And the 1.9 we've already gone through.
Just in part of the payments being made.
Right, so we
Part
have
of that's payroll.
So we have an additional $6 million left.
Yes,
Is
but
that
if we keep going at the current spend rate, we're gonna be there.
Right, so now what was, I know that under the ESSER fund, you know, part of what you're saying is just for coverage. Was there anything else that was designated for teachers for what they have done for the last year, other than coverage?
Just the bonuses that we have been discussing.
Which was $2,000.
Correct.
Which is about $12 million.
We looked at it as in the whole of the district. We didn't look individually by bargaining group, so we just took every employee.
But that would be about $12 million. I mean, roughly. Correct or no?
I don't have the number of employees in front of me to calculate it, so.
If there's approximately 6,000 teachers at 2,000 a pop, that would be $12 million.
If that's the number of teachers. I don't know off the top of my head.
Any other questions? Shay?
So I'm unsure of the date on this, but the last time that you guys had put something up for us, when we talked about bargaining authority, it said there was 25 million proposed from ESSER dollars for one-time payments. Can you explain what that was?
That's what we're talking about. But it's for all of the employees in the district, keep in mind. It's not just, I think I've stated that the $4,000 bonus is $29 million. I know Bob just said 12 for 2,000, so it's in that ballpark, $25, $26 million for $4,000.
All right, any other questions, clarifications, options? Do we want to try one of these options?
I just want to clarify that I said July 15th because that's when we're making a payment to Spout. We're not wedded to that date for the first payment. So
does anybody have an alternative date? Do you need to caucus and talk about these three options? You need to caucus.
Unless there's another question.
I don't see anybody else's hand, so.
Let's caucus.
Okay. we have a caucus report? Oh, good question.
Yes, we had a great deal of discussion, more than the time limit of the caucus that we called, to discuss this option and, some of the things we like about it, some of our hesitations, and I think we have an option 4 to put on.
Option 4, okay,
Yes.
hold on.
So a lot of the conversation in our caucus centered around rewarding those who are and have been employed with the district maybe since the beginning of the year, since Q2, since Q3, and also trying to encompass the district's interest on retention at the beginning of next year. And so our team looked at a tiered approach. And so the, just whenever you're ready. So this first piece is the tiered piece. It's going to be in 3 pieces. So this would be paid on April the 15th. So for those who were employed by the district in Q1, it'd be a $2,500 bonus.
So this is they're employed on August?
Employed during Q1.
And are still employed.
And are still employed on the, yeah.
Okay.
Q2, if they were employed in Q2, it would be $1,250,
And I'm sorry, one more time, the amount for that first group.
$2,500.
Employed during Q2 only?
Yes, Q2 and Q3.
Yeah, still employed on March 31st.
So they were here Q1 as well? No.
Or 2 and 3.
So the intent of this is to reward folks who were here, say during, in this instance, Q2, still an employee on the 30th, paid on the 15th of April. That's a $1,250 bonus. For those that were working or hired in Q3 or working in Q3, that would be $750, again paid on the 15th of April.
Okay.
Next step.
This is all still part of 4?
Yeah, this is all the options. So that takes care of the tiered piece for folks that for first Q1, Q2, Q3.
Okay.
For those who are still employed on the last day of their contract year, $500 paid on June 30th.
And this is for all employees?
Still employed on the last day of their contract year. I'm sorry?
I got it.
Anything else?
One more piece.
Okay.
How
And
many words is it? Do I just put it on the bottom of this?
no,
Thank you for your honesty.
Or did you say the amount that was attached?
Yeah, you said.
500. And so this last piece speaks to retaining employees into the beginning of next school year. And so, when we're talking about retention, it's not just important that you, well, I guess in order to come back, you still have to be employed at the end of the year this year, but it's important that you finish your last contractual day this year and return next year. And so we're proposing a retention bonus of $1,500 paid on October 15th for those who are employed on the last contract day in FY22 and still actively working on September 30th of 2022.
Okay, and they're still employed in when?
The last day of their contract year this year and September 30th of 2022.
And then you were paid when?
October 15th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Kurt?
I'm gonna pass to Kevin.
Okay.
And so this option comes with a homework assignment for you guys, because I don't have the data. With the tiered system, because that $500 at the end of the school year is kind of a new thing. And so we don't know if there's enough money in savings based on the tier to fund that $500 using no more extra money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Shay had said they had lost, what, 11 teachers? And so if we had assumed that you would plan to pay them $2,500, that could potentially be 55 people getting $500. But we just don't have the math to figure out kind of how many people meet each criterion level and what that relates to total cost-wise and whether or not we can fund that 500 at the end.
Okay, anything else over there?
Yeah, I think, Kurt, there was something about amending ESSER too.
We mentioned in our executive caucus about any ESSER amendments, and we'd like a caveat in there that if the ESSER plan is amended, that we'd like the parties to come back and look at, increased amounts for, for the end of the calendar year, if those monies are made available by the state.
Is that part of the option or a separate option?
I think all of that was part of one large complex option 4.
Okay.
Thank you.
Patrick Mantel wants to be involved.
Negotiating additional possible retention bonuses for December 2022. And again, we didn't put this option up there to get a result tonight because we know you've got homework to do and numbers to crunch. And so this may be a good, putting a plug in it for tonight and then going to the next item on the agenda, which is the first rush at the salary proposal.
Okay, I know Rob wanted to say something. Rob?
It kind of slipped my mind now. So an individual that would be eligible for all of the maximum amounts here, you're talking $4,500 instead of $4,000, correct? And I understand your rationale, because you think there might be some savings with quarter 2, quarter 3.
Yes, sir, that is correct. And again, based on whether or not the savings is there or not, may need, we may necessitate altering. But that's, again, homework-based stuff and where the numbers come in on Friday, hopefully.
Okay, one of the things also that's impossible for us to do is any kind of bonus payout on June 30th, because that is the last payday for teachers and what's that, balance of contract, correct? So we've always historically tried to stay away from that day.
We're not married to that date.
Okay.
We would prefer, as a going away present.
Summer travel.
Okay. All right, anything else on that? Now, there was a suggestion by TALC that we think about this until Friday and move on to the other part of our agenda. Mike, question?
So with the tier system, to be eligible for $2,500, you have to have no break in service all year. Because you can have a teacher who worked the first day, quit, and came back during third quarter, and technically they would meet the criteria of step one.
Yeah, we're saying no break in service, that was not the, that's not the intent. But we did look at dates, and so we have like date windows that we can use for those, for these concepts. So for example, the 2,500, you would have had to have been employed prior to 10/15 and be employed at 3/31. For the 1,250, you would have been hired, somewhere between, 10/18 and January 1st to get the 1,250. So we're saying, we're looking at dates in those quarter ranges of when your hiring window would be for your eligible amounts. And then like the 750, if you were hired after January 1st, but before March, in between January 1st and March 18th, then you could get the 750. If you're hired if you're hired on March 28th or to later in the year, then you would get the 500. So we looked at those date windows. And obviously we just looked at like the idea, if you guys were gonna ask, like trying to figure out what made them eligible for the different amounts, but looking in those, if you're hired in that quarter.
Okay, any other questions about Will?
One of the concerns that I have just with some of what's been shared about the option is it's difficult to explain, it's difficult to understand at the end of a Monday afternoon, which I think means that it's going to be difficult to implement, and it's going to be difficult to explain to someone on the other end of the phone who's angry because they didn't get what they thought they were supposed to get because they were reading this on a Monday afternoon too. And I'm not saying that to take away from the option. I think maybe with some more thought, or maybe in the morning it will be more clear, but that's always something as far as when we're sending out joint communications and responding to questions. I think the less complicated it is, the easier it is to understand, the more intuitive it is, the more likely we'll have a smooth implementation. And that, I think, is a concern, or should be a concern, because of the way that some of the classroom coverage stuff rolled out and how some people felt like it rolled over them.
All right, thank you. Jill?
I agree with you, Will, because sometimes it is difficult to explain. And I think that since we're looking at this in terms of like your hiring window and then your continuation of work, again, with no break-in service, I think that by putting a window like you were hired on or before this date, and you've worked all year, this is your amount. By putting those windows, it clears it up for people, because then people would be able to look and see when they're I don't know if you can look that up. I think you can look that up in PeopleSoft. They could look their hire date up in PeopleSoft and go to the chart and say, oh, okay, well, I fall in this window, I would get $1,250, or I fall in this window, I would get $750. I think that would be helpful, but I do agree that is a concern.
All right, anybody else? Rob? Okay.
So today is March 14th.
Correct.
Tomorrow's the 15th, and this payment would be expected on a month from tomorrow. And the tiered system, that work would have to be done theoretically by the end of this month, which is why I want to put or change the date on our option, which is $2,500 on April 15th, instead of, to be paid April 15th instead of July 15th.
All right, we've got that. Okay.
And then $1,500 to be paid there?
December,
To be paid in October,
October,
yes.
okay. Any specific day in October or just October
I
2020?
think we talked about October 15th.
October 15th, okay. All right, you can make those changes, that was your option. So anybody else? Oh, Bonnie.
So as you guys know, benefits are effective the first of the month after 45 days of employment. And people have 30 days from their date of hire to elect benefits. The question regularly comes to my office, I don't know what my date of hire is. So I want to just echo the concern about the more complex that this gets, the more confusion there will be. Because we deal with, I don't know my date of hire all the time, and we have to look that up for people in PeopleSoft because they don't know what their date of hire is.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. All right, Rob.
And Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the way, or Kerr, the way the last bonus was presented in your option, it was said that the individual would only have to have been employed at the end of this school year, correct? The October portion?
No, they would also have to be employed on their last contractual day of this year and remain an employee as of September the 30th of next school year.
Okay, so we would like in some ways this to help recruiting. So if someone is hired and goes to work in August, how does that, do they get the $1,500? Not under the way you have it designed, correct?
No, that was part of our discussion, that sounds like a sign-on bonus to me. And so when we're talking about retaining, and I get the recruitment part, but if we're also bringing and part of our negotiation for compensation, per the state of Florida wants us to bring new teacher salaries to $47.5 as their base pay, there's an increase in rate right there if we bring their base pay to $47.5 instead of $47.3, which would therefore reward or compensate teachers for continuing to be in the district, at least through a good portion of next year, not just getting money and leaving.
Okay, any other questions? Anything else?
I just want to respond to that. I mean, we have a teacher shortage, so we have an interest in recruiting teachers. And if a new teacher knew when they were hired and came to work in August that they may be getting a $1,500 bonus at the end of October, that would help us. And I know the union agrees with us that we have a teacher shortage and wants us to hire people also. So I hear you on the 47.5. We're going to probably talk about that here shortly, but I'm not sure what the consternation is for not including those folks.
Okay, I saw several hands over here. Kevin first.
The whole time it's been talk of retention, and this is part of retention for this year moving forward. Again, part of the last part of the option is talking about a retention bonus in December. Think of you have far more teachers on staff than you have teachers you need to find. So this is a way in October of telling the people who worked all this year and hung on that we appreciate you. I think it's, I don't want to say a slap in the face, but it certainly will make somebody feel a certain kind of way if I had to be here the whole time for it and somebody else just gets to show up on August 2nd and gets it. So again, like Anna was saying, now you're talking more about kind of a sign-on bonus for new hires, as opposed to a retention bonus that was taken from, ESSER money to help cover this year and part of the original $4,000 to do retention this year. And so again, if it's going to be retention, let's use it to retain, not reward brand new employees.
All right, Anna?
I also wanted to point out that the bottom part of our option was if the ESSER could be, the ESSER funds could be amended, that those new employees would also be a part of that conversation next year. And so that's something that we can't determine, but I see value in both recruitment and retention. Our veteran teachers are the ones that are tired. Not that a new teacher is not tired, but we hear it all the time. What are they doing for veteran teachers? What are they doing for veteran teachers? The more that we bring that base salary up, the less value those of us have been here are worth. And that is concerning to me, that if we are not finding ways to prioritize our veteran teachers, and I'm not saying that and by doing this we're not, but we have to think of retaining the good teachers that we do have, that have been in our school system, that have been fighting this good fight, the ones that are even more exhausted now than they've ever been. Those are the ones that are ready to leave. And it would be interesting to me if we looked at our exit data of teachers, how long they had been teaching before they left. Is it the new teachers that are leaving? Is it the veteran teachers that are leaving? And so that's where I think a lot of this comes down to a priority for us. That we want the teachers that have been here in Lee County teaching to stay here in Lee County teaching. And as far as those new employees and recruitment, we have intentions of bringing that base salary up. And we also have a priority and an interest in including those employees if we're able to do a December payout.
Okay, anybody else? You guys tell me. All right, so are we okay with putting this away for now? So, Rob?
I'm actually not. I would, I guess, in some ways, the complexity of what has been presented in option 4 is what troubles me with such a short time to do it. And so, in some ways, we're talking about the same dollar figures, but TALC did request an additional $500. So, I just would like to get the $2,500 in people's hands on April 15th. I mean, and now we're talking $1,250 and $750 depending on when you started. So, I don't know. We're talking around it, but I would like to resolve something tonight.
So your option, the option that you posted, the $2,500 by April 15th, is for anybody who's working in the system at that point?
As of March 31st.
As of March 31st, okay. Shay?
So one of the reasons why we put this up there is because we're talking, we still have yet to, really realize those teachers that worked that first semester that really weren't going to go back and do retroactive pay for class coverage. A teacher that was here the first week of school, my school I'll go to, we had one administrator in the whole building, a brand new AP. So all of us had to pitch in and work extra hard that week to make sure our school opened and ran properly. So someone that was just hired last week at my school, we didn't think that that person should actually get the same amount as those people that were there that first week killing themselves to make sure our school opened appropriately. And all the other different things that had happened at other schools. So we were trying to make it seem more equitable based on the amount of work that was put in. And as Anna just said, that's one of our interests. So it wasn't made to be difficult. It was made to make it equitable in the amount of work that people have put in this year. Just like when we're looking at retention, we're looking at people that work this year and that are still here next year. We're trying to make all of that equitable around this. It's really simple. If you were hired in quarter 1, you get $2,500. If you were hired in quarter 2, you get $1,250. And if you were hired in quarter 3, you get $750. We also looked at, maybe not using all that money. We were trying to look at it from a budget standpoint also. Giving every single person that $2,500 might be a lot more money than what we're talking about here, and we still may be able to fund that $500 at the end of the year.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, I don't believe we disagree with what you just said. What we have a hard time with is the ability to get it done properly by April 15th. So I don't know if there's any flexibility with your date or not, but we're talking a really short period of time here to go in and find higher dates and deal with some of the discrepancies that might arise in that world.
All right, before we continue, I did find the snapshot we did on Article 10 and this, and our interests are transparency in years experience, equity, employee morale, employee recruitment/retention, respect and fairness for all, pay schedule, grandfather annual, manageability, compliance, affordability, and competitive competition. Those were the interests that we put on January 18th. Oh. Yeah, there's a few letters missing from that word. Jill.
So we did some looking, and I know I couldn't find my hire date in PeopleSoft, but I do know for a fact that our hire dates are on the seniority list that are required to be posted on our TALC bulletin boards in all of our schools. So you can check your hire date at any point in time, assuming that your TALC bulletin board is up to date and correct. Is April 30th a good date for this payout?
Go ahead, Bonnie. So I'm getting totally out of my lane here, but I feel like I have to. What about rehires with a break? What about somebody who's been on FMLA? What about somebody who was a TALC person or a SPOUT person at the beginning of the year and is a TALC person now? What about somebody who was an admin at the beginning of the year and is a TALC person now? What about somebody who changed positions and went from one school to another school? What about somebody, all of these things are part of what has to be included in what you've proposed. And I heard the comment about the first week of school. Well, the 2,500 goes all the way to like September or October. So I may not have been there the first week of school. I might have been hired the very last day of the first quarter, and then I get the same bonus as the person who was there the first week of school. So devil's in the details, I'll leave it at that. All right, Kelly?
So when you ask if it can be paid out by the end of April, I don't know. Those are things we have to now look at because there is more detail to be pulled. So we'll pull the information, but we do have to have questions answered like, well, what if somebody was on leave first quarter, they came back second quarter? Do you consider them working in the first quarter, or do we go with a second quarter, when they came back from leave type thing? So there are a lot of questions that we have as it surrounds this that, when we get down to start looking at paying, we get them and we just don't know how to respond, and I'd like to have them all fleshed out before we do. And the longer it takes us to flush those things out, of course, it pushes the payback more.
Okay, anybody else? Kevin?
For me, I think you're right. I think a lot of stuff came out with the classroom coverage that, unknown unknowns, as smart as we all are, and the 9 questions Bonnie ran off in like 10 seconds that I would write down is 9. Somebody sitting at home watching probably has 9 different ones. They just do. The good news is we all have each other's phone numbers. And so, I think the difference between today and Friday doesn't, because Friday is still within the amount of time needed to settle on the April 15 check, right? Like if we wait till Friday for the thumbs up and we do whatever option thumbs up, if it's one of the simpler ones, it still gets paid out on April 15th, right? So by delaying 2 or 3 days, we're not delaying until the 30th necessarily, correct?
I can say simple, we can do by then. when we start pulling numbers, we'll see how simple is, right? So I think that by Friday, hopefully we can have pulled some things and had some scenarios at least that we can discuss so that when we go to pay it, it's paid correctly. And maybe we can clean some of those things up prior to and try and get, locked down on the pay date depending on what we have to pull.
And I also would say that everybody in like a decision-making kind of role, I think, is, though they're probably taking vacation, and God bless them if they are, is a 2:55 and scheduled to work next week anyway. I mean, I know I'll be around Monday and Tuesday. I'm taking Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but I'll be around, And so again, if we need to have these discussions based on questions that come to our mind now as opposed to afterwards, that's what we can do.
Will, and then Anna.
I think in the meantime too, and this doesn't have to be right now, I'm taking up more time at the bargaining table, but I guess I'm maybe interested in hearing more about like what the trade-off is, because I think I can understand someone wanting the acknowledgement. I don't know that the dollar amount difference is enough to make up the difference in the work. And so I guess in looking at what the trade-off is in terms of complexity and chances for success and chances for ease of implementation and everything, I would wonder, do you, again, risk losing the person feeling like that additional effort has been acknowledged, or something else by making it more complicated and again, adding to the potential for confusion and hard feelings?
Okay, food for thought, Anna?
So I just wanted to ask if it's possible by Friday we could have, even if it's a rough number, that in second semester there was, what if it's only 20 employees? I know it's probably not, but what if we're over here with an idea in our mind of we're trying to kind of tier out compensation, we're trying to also save a little bit of money for we just come up with ideas. So we are not privileged to the same information and data that you guys have access to. So if we could just get by Friday a rough number of, in quarter 2 there was X amount of teachers hired, in quarter 3 we hired this amount of teachers, so we can even see if our idea itself is feasible. That would be very helpful for us by Friday to somewhat move forward with this.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, we're ready to move forward. We'll come back Friday. Just wanted to flush out some of those things before we move on.
Okay, here's the chance here to get rid of some papers. Okay. Again, I'm keeping the interest doc because we're still on the same article, so Rob?
So we have a plan to present relative to compensation, and it would start initially, we're going to, from what I understand, there's a desire to have a 1-year deal, so not a 2-year deal. And we are focused on the bands in the salary plan that are currently all making the same amount of money, which is the starting teacher salary, which is $47,300. So we are focused on initially, at the current rates, a 2% raise, and then, 0 to 3 years would be, yes, and the 2% is retroactive to to July 1st. On base salary, thank you. 0 to 3 years, we would raise it to the $47,500 required by statute. Tell me when you're ready, Amy.
Okay.
Years 4 to 6, $48,250. Years 7 to 13, $49,000. And years 14 to 20, $50,500. The cost to the district for this plan is approximately $9 million for 1 year.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin?
In the order of operations, is that a 2% and then a true up, or is that, so if you're making 47.3, 47.3,
Yeah.
2% gets you to 48,246. And so if you're a year 2 person, what's your new pay? Because you're over the true up number, right? Okay,
I think
so,
Kelly doing some calculations over there, so.
go ahead, Will.
So it would be the same as kind of the market adjustments have been done in years past. So you would take whatever your current base salary is, apply the 2%, and if you're below that amount, then you would get trued up to that amount. And that would be based off of years X, which again, people can see in PeopleSoft in a couple different places. I know it's on the employee current compensation page. I think it's maybe also on the career ladder page. But so if kind of using your example, I'm at 47.3, the 2% puts me above 47.5, I would stay above 47.5. Someone who's hired in with 0 through 3 years experience would be coming in at 47.5 though. And the same for some of the other ones. If that percent increase based on my current base salary puts me at above that number, I wouldn't get the difference, but if I'm not at that number, I would get the difference to bring me up to that number. That's the true up.
Okay, thank you, Will. Any other questions?
So people with 20 plus years only get the 2%, no true up, correct?
Yeah, currently we allow people to bring in up to 20 years of experience credit. So that 2% for anyone with more than 20 years of experience would not likely affect those people. Again, there's still the possibility. I know the 1 year we had someone who we looked at it and said, how could this person, have this salary? Well, when you look at, they had 7 years where they were, on a leave of absence or on a board approved leave or whatever out of their 15 years, and that's why, they hadn't received some of the raises. But for the average person, that's correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
So there are 3 piles of money. Even though there's 1 pile, there's 3 piles. There's Port Authority, there's the TISA pile, and the TISA pile is divided into 2 piles. The money they give you to maintain 47.3 and the money they give you to move people to 47.5. Because the goal this year is to get everybody to 47.5 using the TISA money to move there, and anything that's left over from that pile can be spent other places. So I guess what I'm asking is, of the 9 million, I think that the TISA move-up money is like 1.4, the maintenance money is 16, 17 million, and so of the 9, does the 9 include the 1.4, or where is the 1.4? And I know it's not 1.4 because unfortunately, I think you have to share some with charter schools, so I know it's not the pure 1.4.
Will?
So I can give you really rough numbers. I think you're right. I think it was, somewhere around $15 million is what the state gave the district for TISA. Out of that money, we have to give a portion, based on student enrollment to the charter schools. Like you just said, probably, 14 million of that is going to maintaining 47.3. The remaining, 1.5 or whatever would go towards moving to the 47.5 and then kind of kick into, once we've done that, making sure that everyone gets a minimum of a 2% increase. The 9 million is separate bargaining authority. So that's not the TISA money.
Okay. Another question, Kevin, to follow up?
So if bargaining authority is 9 million, and this plan costs 9 million, where's the 1.4 million?
I think it costs more than 9 million. I want to say it's 9.8, 9.7 million. I think the number that Rob was giving you was then that would take the 9 million that was the 1 year bargaining authority.
All right, Anna?
So reviewing some of the information that was presented to the bargaining team back on December 6th, that information says that the bargaining authority was 14.5 million from district dollars for all staff, which was equivalent to a 2.5% increase for all staff. TALC's portion is 9.4 million. So how did we get from that initial information on December 6th of a 2.5% increase to only a 2% increase now?
Well,
I think the true up takes up the other 0.5%. There's still some cost with the true up, and the 2%, based on the way the TISA language is, you've got to guarantee that people get a minimum of a 2% increase. And so that's where that other 0.5%, would go towards taking care of some of the compression issues, and really help us with retention and recruitment for people with kind of that 13 years fewer who are coming in now and saying, I make the same as someone with 0 years of teaching experience who just graduated from college.
So thank you for explaining that to me. Part of my concern with this is those employees that have worked hard to year after year become highly effective. Of course, you had a higher opportunity to get compensated at a faster rate for being highly effective. And so it seems just from looking at this that those are employees that would be affected adversely. That if you're in this year bracket and you were not highly effective, you're going to be eligible for that true up, where our employees that have worked hard to maintain a highly effective status and get compensated due to that will not be eligible for that true up.
Well,
I think that's another one of the effects of the compression issue. And when you look at it, we've got about 2,000 people who are on that 47.3. So I hear what you're saying, and I do think that's a legitimate concern, especially for someone who has, received highly effective evaluations year after year. I will say probably the most frustrated person by all of that is Mike Gatewood, who, spent 3 or 4 years worth of his work here trying to help correct that line, where we were showing you that there was the trough, and then in 1 year, the legislature and the governor, erased all of Mike's hard work in trying to come up with the details of a plan for that. I think we can continue to work at it. I think, again, the pay bands is a first step at trying to correct some of the compression issues. And as Kevin said, once we're at that 47.5, if there's additional TISA money put there, we'll be one of the first districts at the 47.5. And once you're there, the rules that they have in place right now, which again, subject to change anytime the legislature meets and the governor agrees to sign off on it, are that you can apply those funds to other compensation once you've met the 47.5. So for some of those districts in the panhandle that are miles off, it's going to take them a couple of years, and maybe by then we'll have worked through some of our compression issues and they can come up with some other plan to erase all of that work and restoring equity, and we'll go to work on fixing that too.
Kevin?
And like Will was saying, I think moving to the 47.5 is key, because the budget was just passed today and will be signed. And so any TISA money that's set aside for moving people to 47.5, we can use currently, barring some ridiculous change, we can use to spread throughout the bargaining unit on top of bargaining authority, however we see fit. Because again, you know, when the legislature and the governor made the decision to pay attention to base pay at the expense of everything else, veteran teachers got mad. People who were at 47.2 got mad. You know, everybody got mad because the attention was paid at the bottom. And again, this doesn't address that issue of compression yet, but once I believe the money is freed up and we're not restricted on the TISA money to devote to people, we may be able to continue to increase the gap between those people who are just hired and those experienced teachers who have been around, who didn't see the upwards of $6,000 that people got 2 years ago.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Will?
I think one of the other things worth mentioning is that I think our judgment at the bargaining table was pretty good in putting in place the longevity payment to help address some of that too. I know that it's kind of a modest amount, but it was a start. And again, that should help offset some of the negative impact from the compression, not just for people, you know, at the lower end of the salary schedule, but for people with 10 plus years of experience in the district, to be able to give them that pay differential and to kind of acknowledge their years of service to the district. So not to like pat ourselves on the back, but again, I think we were ahead of some of this in our thinking on that.
Rob?
Yeah. And I'm reminded by our budget department that the amount we've put out there does not include what we already did for the career ladder previously. So if we include that, we're at $10.2 million. So.
Kevin?
I thought the career ladder agreement was not coming from bargaining authority. We did the MOU way earlier in the year.
Kelly says I wasn't here for that. Of course, I wasn't either, I don't think. So I looked at Will.
I believe that commitment was not from bargaining authority. And I think when we're going to, and again, goes back to my priority discussion. If we're going to prioritize a career ladder in this county, we need to not tie it to the whim of board authority and set aside the money from some other places. So when people move and come back, they're not told bargaining's got to happen. And so for me, career ladder is what it is. It's a good thing, but every year it's usually based on the whim of bargaining authority. And I thought this year we had said that money wasn't coming from bargaining authority.
I don't particularly remember the source of the funding, but I do remember you saying that, you know, there were 180 vacancies at that point in the year. The cost of that, I know Dr. Desimore was here for that, but I think the other thing, and this is a step in the right direction regardless, is that we were able to get people paid earlier because of the language that we put in place to be able to execute it by MOU. But I think your point is well taken, that if there is a way to continue to make that seamless. It takes some of the guesswork out and makes it clear to people that that is a priority and will continue to be one.
Because the career ladder is going to may soon be making some robust recommendations and some money that's more than $1,000 attached to the move. And if that's held hostage every year by bargaining authority, the recommendations of the career ladder may not be as robust as they once were.
All right, Anna?
So I was curious, part of our data request from our interest was the years of experience breakdown. So not tonight unless you just have it handy, that'd be fantastic. But can we get a more breakdown of these bands and kind of where we used to get it, a little dips and dives, if we could get where our employees sit within those bands, and that breakdown for the years of service would be very helpful.
We can provide that by Friday, and I know we gave Kerr years Y, D, and L, which is, X, D, and L. Years of experience, years of district teaching experience, and total number of years of district service.
Okay. Sam, did I see your hand up?
You just answered it.
Okay.
Can you repeat XDL, please?
X is credible years of teaching experience. D is district years of teaching experience. And L is what we use for longevity. And that's total number of years of district service. And so that's regardless of whether you had a break in service at some point, regardless of whether you started out as a para or whether you were once an assistant principal and have gone back into the classroom, all of those years are included in that, as long as you worked kind of the one day more than half.
Sam?
And just to make sure I wrote this down right, the salary bands are based off of years X, correct?
Yes, and that's typically what we've used for our market adjustment stuff in the past.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have any other options? Or is this going to be tabled until Friday as well? For time to process?
We will table till Friday.
We have a little sidebar going there.
I don't see any other questions on our side, Donna. I think we need some time to digest.
Okay. District okay with that?
Yeah, we're fine with that.
All right, so we're gonna come back Friday. We have options for both things that were on the agenda tonight, and hopefully Friday we will come up.
Anna's got a question.
Yes, Anna?
Can you please clarify, because you did specifically say that 2% increase would be retroactive. So any true up from these salary bands, is that amount retroactive as well?
What's that? Yes. Base pay, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, it is 6:40. We meet again Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I think it is. Or is it 1:30 to 3:30 or 1 to 3:30?
1 to 3:30. 1 to 3:30.
1 to 3:30.
I know Anna also requested that we reach out to food services to try and get whatever Colonial was serving today for lunch. So we'll work on that. And we're in media 1 and 2 on Friday.
Okay, meeting 1 and 2 Friday, 1 o'clock. See everybody there. Have a good remainder of your week. Get those grades in on Friday and